The sun rose slowly over the horizon of New Hope, Earth's most advanced space colony. The artificial atmosphere glowed with a soft orange hue, mimicking a perfect Earth sunrise. For the colonists, it was just another day in their new home among the stars. Sarah, a bright-eyed 8-year-old with curly brown hair, jumped out of bed with excitement. Today was special. Her parents had promised a family picnic in the colony's Central Park. Sarah loved these outings. They reminded her of the stories her grandparents told about picnics on Earth. "Mom, Dad, wake up," Sarah called out, running into her parents' bedroom. "It's picnic day." John and Mary, Sarah's parents, smiled at their daughter's enthusiasm. They had been working hard for months, helping to build and maintain the colony's life support systems. This day off was a rare treat for the whole family. The family packed their picnic basket with sandwiches, fruits, and Sarah's favorite cookies. They walked together through the colony's clean, well-lit corridors. Other colonists waved and smiled as they passed. Everyone knew everyone on New Hope. It was like a small town in space. The Central Park was a marvel of engineering. A massive dome housed real trees, grass, and even a small lake. It was Earth in miniature, a green oasis in the vastness of space. Sarah ran ahead, her laughter echoing in the dome. "Be careful, sweetie," Mary called out, smiling at her daughter's joy. John spread out a blanket under a large oak tree. The family sat down, enjoying their food and the peaceful surroundings. Sarah told jokes, making her parents laugh. It was a perfect moment of happiness. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared throughout the colony. Red lights flashed everywhere. John and Mary looked at each other in confusion and fear. This wasn't a drill. Something was very wrong. "Attention all colonists," a voice boomed over the speakers. "This is not a drill. An unknown alien ship has entered our space. Please proceed calmly to the nearest shelter." Panic spread through the park. Families grabbed their things and ran. John picked up Sarah, and Mary gathered their belongings. They joined the crowd rushing towards the exits. That's when they saw it. Through the clear dome of the park, a massive ship appeared in the sky. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Dark, sleek, and menacing, it hovered over the colony like a predator eyeing its prey. "What is that, Daddy?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Before John could answer, a bright beam of light shot out from the alien ship. It struck the dome with incredible force. The structure that had withstood micrometeorites and cosmic radiation for years cracked like an eggshell. Chaos erupted. The air began to rush out of the breach. People screamed and clung to whatever they could. John held Sarah tightly, while Mary gripped a nearby tree. "Hold on," John shouted over the roar of escaping air. But the force was too strong. Sarah slipped from his grasp. "Sarah!" Mary screamed in horror as she watched her daughter being pulled towards the crack in the dome. Time seemed to slow down. John and Mary reached out, their fingers inches away from Sarah's outstretched hand. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Sarah's face showed fear, but also a strange calmness. Then, in an instant, she was gone, sucked out into the cold vacuum of space. The emergency systems finally kicked in. Force fields sealed the breach, but it was too late for Sarah. John and Mary collapsed on the ground, overcome with grief and shock. Above them, the alien ship lingered for a moment, as if observing the devastation it had caused. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, it vanished into the depths of space. In the aftermath of the attack, the colony was in shambles. Families comforted each other, the injured were tended to, and a stunned silence fell over New Hope. But for John and Mary, the world had ended. Their daughter, their beautiful Sarah, was gone. As news of the attack spread, a fire began to burn in the hearts of the colonists. This was not just an attack on New Hope. It was an attack on humanity itself, and humanity would not let it go unanswered. Little did the aliens know Their actions that day would set in motion events that would change the course of galactic history forever. The news of the attack on New Hope spread across Earth like wildfire. Within hours, every screen on the planet showed images of the damaged colony and the alien ship. But one image stood out among all others: the smiling face of Sarah, the young girl lost in the attack. In New York, United Nations headquarters buzzed with activity. Diplomats from every nation rushed to emergency meetings. The air was thick with tension and fear. No one had ever imagined that humanity's first contact with aliens would be so violent. Inside the main conference room, the UN Secretary General, a tall woman named Elena Rodriguez, called the meeting to order. Her usually calm face showed signs of stress and lack of sleep. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "we face the gravest threat in human history. An alien race has attacked one of our colonies without warning or reason." The room erupted in angry shouts and demands for action. Elena raised her hand for silence. "We have all seen the images," she continued. "We have all heard the stories. But I want you to listen to this." She played a recording. It was the last transmission from New Hope before communications were cut off. The sound of alarms and screaming filled the room. Then a child's voice, Sarah's voice, cried out, "Mommy, Daddy, help me." The recording ended with a terrible silence. The room was quiet. Many diplomats had tears in their eyes. Some looked angry, others shocked. Meanwhile, in living rooms and public squares across Earth, people gathered to watch the news. In London's Trafalgar Square, a sea of candles flickered as thousands held a vigil for Sarah and the other victims. In Beijing, students marched through the streets, carrying signs that read "Humanity United" in dozens of languages. The Great Wall of China was lit up with the colors of New Hope's flag. Back in New York, the UN debate raged on. Some nations called for immediate military action. Others urged caution, fearing a war humanity might not be able to win. As the arguments heated up, the door to the conference room burst open. A group of people walked in, led by John and Mary, Sarah's parents. They had been brought to Earth immediately after the attack. John stepped forward, his face a mask of grief and determination. "Distinguished leaders," he said, his voice shaking slightly, "I stand before you not just as a grieving father, but as a representative of all humanity." The room fell silent, all eyes on John. "My daughter, Sarah, dreamed of a future where humanity reached for the stars," he continued. "She believed in a universe full of wonder and friendship. The aliens who killed her, they didn't just attack a colony. They attacked that dream. They attacked our future." Mary stepped forward, holding Sarah's favorite stuffed animal, a small blue elephant. "This was Sarah's," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "She called him Mr. Trunks. She was going to take him to school for show and tell next week." The simple toy, a symbol of childhood innocence, seemed to break something in the room. Hardened diplomats wiped away tears. John's voice grew stronger. "We cannot let fear guide us, but we also cannot let this act go unanswered. The aliens must learn that humanity is not weak. We are not divided. We are one people, and we will defend our own." Elena Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, thank you for your courage. Your words remind us all of what's truly at stake." She turned to address the assembly. "We have debated long enough. It's time to act. I propose the immediate formation of a global defense force. We will pool our resources, our best minds, our strongest warriors. We will build a fleet unlike any the universe has ever seen." The vote was unanimous. As the decision was announced, cheers erupted from the crowds gathered outside the UN building. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In homes and factories, in laboratories and military bases, a new sense of purpose took hold. Humanity had been attacked, but it would not cower in fear. Instead, it would rise, united as never before, ready to face the cosmic challenge that lay ahead. As night fell on Earth, millions looked up at the stars. Once, they had represented mystery and wonder. Now, they were a challenge, a call to action, and humanity was ready to answer that call. The world had changed overnight. The attack on New Hope had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. Now, as the sun rose on a new day, the real work began. In a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the greatest minds from every nation gathered. Engineers, scientists, military strategists, they all had one goal: to create the most powerful fleet the universe had ever seen. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant physicist from Japan, stood before a giant holographic display. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she explained her latest breakthrough. "We've done it," she said, her voice filled with pride. "By combining elements we found in the debris from the alien ship with our own technology, we've created a new type of engine. It's faster and more powerful than anything we've ever built." The room erupted in cheers. This was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, construction of the first ships had already begun. Massive space stations, once used for scientific research, were now bustling shipyards. Thousands of workers in spacesuits moved like ants, piecing together the hulls of what would become humanity's defenders. Back on Earth, in every country, factories worked around the clock. Parts for the new ships were being made everywhere. From the high-tech labs of Silicon Valley to small workshops in rural India, everyone wanted to contribute. In a classroom in Nairobi, Kenya, a young teacher named Amani showed her students pictures of the ships being built. "These ships will protect us," she said, her voice filled with hope. "And maybe, one day, you'll be the ones flying them." The children's eyes widened with wonder. All over the world, a new generation was growing up with dreams of the stars and the determination to defend them. As weeks turned into months, the fleet began to take shape. The flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed anything humanity had built before, was christened Sarah's Hope in memory of the little girl whose death had sparked this global effort. John and Mary Thompson, Sarah's parents, were invited to the launching ceremony. As they stood before the enormous ship, tears streamed down their faces. But these were not just tears of sadness. They were tears of pride, of hope, of the unbreakable spirit of humanity. John placed his hand on the cool metal of the ship's hull. "This is for you, Sarah," he whispered. "Your dream of exploring the stars will live on." As the day of the fleet's departure drew near, a sense of anticipation filled the air. In every city, town, and village, people prepared for the grand send-off. It would be a day to remember. The day humanity took its first united step into the cosmos. The night before the launch, millions of people around the world stepped outside and looked up at the stars. They knew that somewhere out there, the aliens who had attacked them were waiting. But now, humanity was ready to face them. In Mission Control, located in Houston, Texas, final preparations were underway. Commander Elena Chen, chosen to lead the fleet, reviewed the mission plans one last time. She was a veteran astronaut, but nothing could have prepared her for this. "Are we ready?" asked the UN Secretary-General, who had come to oversee the launch. Elena nodded, her face set with determination. "As ready as we'll ever be. The fleet is at 100% capacity. All systems are go." As dawn broke on launch day, people gathered in front of screens all over the world. In Times Square, in the Sahara Desert, on tiny Pacific islands, everyone waited with bated breath. At exactly 900 hours GMT, the countdown began. The world held its breath as the numbers ticked down. 3, 2, 1. With a roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth, the Vengeance fleet lifted off. Hundreds of ships, led by the massive Sarah's Hope, rose into the sky. As they broke through the atmosphere, cheers erupted around the globe. Humanity had taken its first step towards the stars, not in peace, as they had always imagined, but in defense of their very existence. The Vengeance Fleet was born, carrying with it the hopes, dreams, and determination of an entire planet. As the fleet disappeared into the depths of space, a new chapter in human history began. The hunt for the alien aggressors had started, and humanity would not rest until justice was served. The vastness of space stretched out before the Vengeance Fleet. Commander Elena Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship, Sarah's Hope, her eyes fixed on the star map before her. They had been searching for 3 months, but the alien race known as the Zarkoth remained elusive. "Any signs, Lieutenant Wong?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the growing frustration. Lieutenant Wong, a young officer with a keen eye for detail, shook his head. "Nothing yet, Commander, but we're picking up some strange energy readings from the Orion Nebula." Elena nodded. "Set a course. It's the best lead we've had in weeks." As the fleet moved through space, life aboard the ships settled into a rhythm. The crew, drawn from every corner of Earth, worked together with a sense of purpose that transcended their differences. In the science lab, Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her team worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology they had salvaged from the attack on New Hope. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding their enemy. "Look at this," Yuki said, pointing to a holographic display. "Their weapons use a form of energy we've never seen before. It's like they're harnessing the power of small stars." Her colleague, Dr. Alejandro Ramirez, whistleblow. "Incredible. If we could replicate that, we'd have a real chance against them," Yuki finished, her eyes shining with determination. Meanwhile, in the ship's gym, John Thompson, Sarah's father, trained alongside the Marines. He had insisted on joining the mission, and his determination had impressed even the toughest soldiers. "Keep it up, Thompson," Sergeant Miller called out as John finished another set of push-ups. "You're doing your daughter proud." John nodded, his face a mix of grief and resolve. Every rep, every drill was for Sarah. He would see this through, no matter what. As the fleet approached the Orion Nebula, tension on the bridge increased. The swirling clouds of gas and dust could hide anything, including an alien armada. "All ships, battle stations," Elena commanded. "We don't know what we're flying into." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, readying weapons and shields. The fleet spread out, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. "Commander," Lieutenant Wong called out, "we're picking up multiple ships on the edge of the nebula. They matched the design of the one that attacked New Hope." Elena's heart raced, but her voice remained calm. "This is it, people. Remember your training. Remember why we're here." As the human fleet emerged from the nebula, they saw the alien ships for the first time. They were dark, sleek, and deadly, just like the one that had attacked the colony. "Open a channel," Elena ordered. "Let's see if they'll talk." For a tense moment, there was silence. Then, a harsh, guttural voice came through the speakers. "Humans," it said, the word dripping with disdain. "You dare to enter our space." Elena stepped forward. "I am Commander Elena Chen of Earth's Vengeance Fleet. You attacked our colony, killed our people. We demand justice." The alien voice laughed, a sound that sent chills down everyone's spine. "Justice. We are the Zarkoth. We take what we want. Your colony was in our way." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then you leave us no choice. All ships, prepare to engage." The space around the nebula erupted into chaos. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void as human and Zarkoth ships clashed. Sarah's Hope shook as it took a direct hit. "Shields at 80%, an officer called out. "Return fire." Elena commanded. The flagship's main cannon roared to life, striking a Zarkoth ship and splitting it in two. In the midst of the battle, John Thompson manned a gun turret, his hand steady as he fired at the alien ships. Each shot was for Sarah, for the future she would never see. As the battle raged on, it became clear that while the Zarkoth had advanced technology, they had underestimated human determination. One by one, The alien ships fell to the combined might of Earth's fleet. Finally, the last Zarkov ship turned and fled, disappearing into the depths of space. The bridge of Sarah's hope erupted in cheers, but Elena remained focused. "Track them," she ordered. "They'll lead us to their homeworld." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the reality of what they had accomplished set in. They had faced the Zarkov and won. It was just the beginning, but it was a beginning filled with hope. The Vengeance fleet set off in pursuit of the fleeing Zarkov ship, ready to follow it to the ends of the galaxy if necessary. The hunt had truly begun, and humanity was proving to be a formidable predator. The Vengeance fleet had been following the trail of the Zarkov for weeks. The chase had led them deeper into unknown space, far from the familiar stars of home. On the bridge of Sarah's hope, Commander Elena Chen studied the latest reports with a furrowed brow. "Commander," Lieutenant Wang called out, his voice tense with excitement. "We're picking up a massive energy signature. It looks like a planet." Elena's head snapped up. "On screen," she ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that took everyone's breath away. A planet, easily twice the size of Earth, hung in space before them. Its surface was a swirling mass of purples and greens, unlike anything they had ever seen. "Is it the Zarkov homeworld?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, who had been quietly analyzing the data, spoke up. "Not their homeworld, Commander, but definitely one of their major colonies. The energy readings match what we saw during the attack on New Hope." Elena nodded, her face set with determination. "This is our chance. Prepare for first contact." As the fleet approached the planet, a swarm of Zarkov ships rose to meet them. But instead of attacking, they formed a defensive line. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Wang reported, surprise evident in his voice. On screen, Elena commanded, straightening her uniform. The face that appeared on the screen was alien in every sense of the word. The Zarkov had gray, scaly skin and large black eyes that seemed to absorb light. When it spoke, its voice was a harsh, guttural sound that the ship's computers struggled to translate. "Humans," the alien said, its tone a mix of anger and curiosity. "You have pursued us across the stars. Why?" Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. "I am Commander Elena Chen of Earth's Vengeance Fleet. You attacked our colony, killed our people without provocation. We seek justice." The Zarkov's face twisted in what might have been a smile. "Justice. We are the Zarkov. We take what we want. It is our way." "Not anymore," Elena replied, her voice hard. "We're here to show you that humanity will not be an easy target. We demand reparations for New Hope, and a guarantee that you will never attack human settlements again." The Zarkov leader laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "You dare to make demands? You are children playing at war. We will crush you and take your world as our own." With that, the communication cut off. Immediately, the Zarkov ships opened fire. "All ships, battle stations." Elena shouted, "Protect the fleet at all costs." The space around the planet erupted into chaos. Human and Zarkov ships weaved between each other, exchanging fire in a deadly dance. On Sarah's Hope, John Thompson manned his gun turret with grim determination. Each shot he fired was for Sarah, for the future she would never see. Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked frantically in the science lab, analyzing the Zarkov weapons in real time. "Commander," she called over the comm, "their ships have a weak spot near the engine cores. Target that area." Elena relayed the information to the fleet. Slowly but surely, the tide of battle began to turn. A massive explosion rocked Sarah's Hope. "We've been hit," Lieutenant Wang shouted. "Shields at 30%. Elena gripped her chair, her knuckles white. "Divert all non-essential power to shields. We need to hold on." Just when it seemed the battle might be lost, a group of smaller, faster human ships broke through the Zarkov line. Led by the skilled pilot Maria Rodriguez, they headed straight for the planet. What are they doing? Elena wondered aloud. Her question was answered moments later when the planet's surface erupted with explosions. Maria and her team had taken out the Zarkov's ground defenses, leaving their ships vulnerable. All ships, focus fire on their fleet, Elena commanded. This is our chance. The human fleet fought with renewed vigor. One by one, the Zarkov ships fell. Finally, the last enemy vessel turned and fled, disappearing into the depths of space. A cheer went up across the human fleet. They had won their first major battle against the Zarkov. As the dust settled, Elena looked out at the alien planet below. They had made first contact, but it had led to conflict. Now they had a foothold in Zarkov space. The real war was just beginning. Send a message to Earth, Elena said, her voice tired but proud. Tell them we've won the first battle, but we need reinforcements. This fight is far from over. As the message was sent, the crew of the Vengeance fleet looked at each other with a mix of exhaustion and determination. They had taken the first step towards justice for Sarah and all the victims of New Hope. Whatever came next, they would face it together. 6 months had passed since the Vengeance fleet's first major victory against the Zarkov. The reinforcements from Earth had arrived, bringing with them new ships, advanced weapons, and fresh determination. Now, after countless battles and endless pursuit, they had finally found what they had been searching for, the Zarkov homeworld. Commander Elena Chen stood on the bridge of Sarah's Hope, her eyes fixed on the alien planet that filled the view screen. It was a monstrous world, nearly twice the size of Jupiter, with a surface that churned with storms of unimaginable power. Status report, Elena called out, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. Lieutenant Wong responded quickly. The Zarkov fleet is mobilizing. Commander, they've detected our presence. We count over 1,000 ships, maybe more. Elena nodded grimly. This was it, the final battle. Everything they had fought for, every life lost, had led to this moment. All ships, battle stations, she commanded. This is what we came for. Today, we end this war. Across the human fleet, crews rushed to their positions. In the hangar bay of Sarah's Hope, John Thompson climbed into his fighter. He paused for a moment, touching the photo of Sarah he kept in his cockpit. This is for you, sweetheart, he whispered. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's voice came over the comm system. Commander, we've analyzed the planet's defenses. They have a massive energy shield protecting the surface. We need to take it down if we want to end this. Elena's mind raced. Can we breach it? Yes, Yuki replied. But it'll take a concentrated attack. We'll need to get close. Elena made her decision. All ships, form up. We're going in. The human fleet moved as one, advancing towards the Zarkov homeworld. The enemy ships swarmed to meet them, filling space with deadly energy beams and missiles. The battle that ensued was like nothing the universe had ever seen. Human and Zarkov ships clashed in a deadly dance, explosions lighting up the void like 1,000 dying stars. Sarah's Hope shook violently as it took a direct hit. Shields at 60%, an officer called out. Elena gripped her chair. Keep pressing forward. We need to reach that shield. In his fighter, John weaved through the chaos, taking out Zarkov ships with precision. But for every enemy he destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. We can't keep this up forever, he muttered, narrowly avoiding a blast that would have vaporized him. Just then, Yuki's voice came over the comm again. Commander, I've found a weakness in their shield. If we can hit it with enough force at these coordinates, we might be able to create a breach. Elena didn't hesitate. All ships, focus fire on these coordinates. Fighter squadrons, clear us a path. The human fleet responded immediately, concentrating their attack on a single point in the Zarkov's planetary shield. The space around them lit up with the combined power of their weapons. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a flash that was blinding even in the vastness of space, a hole appeared in the shield. "We've done it!" Yuki shouted. "The shield is down." Alina allowed herself a small smile. "This is our chance. All ships, push through. We end this now." The human fleet surged forward, breaking through the Zarkov lines and heading for the planet's surface. John's fighter led the charge, diving through the atmosphere with a trail of fire. As they broke through the clouds, they saw the Zarkov capital spread out before them, a sprawling metropolis of alien architecture. At its center stood a massive structure that could only be the seat of their government. "There," Elena called out. "That's our target. Take it out, and this war is over." The human ships unleashed everything they had on the Zarkov capital. Buildings crumbled, defense systems faltered, and chaos reigned. In the midst of it all, John's fighter zeroed in on the central building. With Sarah's photo in front of him, he armed his last missile. "This is for every child who will never see the stars," he said, and fired. The missile struck true, and the Zarkov command center erupted in a massive explosion. Almost immediately, the remaining enemy ships began to fall back. On the bridge of Sarah's Hope, Elena watched in disbelief as the Zarkov fleet retreated. "They're surrendering," Lieutenant Wong said, his voice filled with awe. Elena let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "Send the message to all ships. The war is over. We've won." As the news spread through the fleet, cheers erupted on every ship. Tears of joy and relief flowed freely. They had done it. They had avenged New Hope and ensured the safety of Earth. In his fighter, John looked down at Sarah's photo, a single tear rolling down his cheek. "We did it, sweetheart," he whispered. "We did it." The war was over, but for humanity, a new chapter was just beginning. They had proven themselves on a galactic stage. Now, they would help shape the future of the universe. 5 years had passed since the end of the war with the Zarkov. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The planet was no longer just a blue marble floating in space, but the heart of a growing interstellar civilization. On a clear day in New Washington, the new capital built on the ruins of the old, Commander Elena Chen stood before a massive crowd. Behind her loomed a towering monument, a statue of a young girl looking up at the stars, her hand outstretched as if reaching for them. Elena took a deep breath and began to speak. 5 years ago, we fought a war that took us to the farthest reaches of space. We fought for justice, for our future, and for a little girl named Sarah Thompson. The crowd was silent, hanging on her every word. Today, we dedicate this monument not just to Sarah, but to all those who lost their lives in the conflict. They are the reason we stand here today, a united Earth ready to take its place among the stars. As Elena spoke, John and Mary Thompson watched from the front row, tears in their eyes. The loss of Sarah still hurt, but seeing her memory honored in this way brought a measure of peace. After the ceremony, Elena met with the Thompsons in a quiet garden near the monument. "You've done so much," Mary said, hugging Elena tightly. "Sarah would be proud." John nodded, his eyes on the statue of his daughter. "She always wanted to explore the stars. In a way, she's led us there." Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Dr. Yuki Tanaka floated in the observation deck of the new International Space Station. The station was a marvel of human and Zarkov technology, a symbol of the peace that had been hard-won. Yuki watched as a ship appeared out of the darkness of space, a trading vessel from one of the former Zarkov colonies. It was still strange to see their ships approach Earth peacefully. "Dr. Tanaka," a voice called. She turned to see her Zarkov colleague, Zextor, floating towards her. "The new propulsion system is ready for testing." Yuki smiled. Working with the very aliens they had once fought still felt surreal at times, but it was a testament to how far they had come. Back on Earth, in classrooms around the world, children learned about the war and its aftermath. In a school in Nairobi, a young teacher named Amani showed her students pictures of the new human colony springing up on distant worlds. "Who knows?" she said with a smile. "Maybe one day you'll live on one of these planets." The children's eyes widened with wonder. For them, the galaxy was full of possibilities. In the rebuilt New Hope colony, now a thriving metropolis, a group of workers put the finishing touches on a new building, the Sarah Thompson Academy of Interstellar Studies. It would train the next generation of explorers and diplomats. As night fell around the world, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. The pinpricks of light were no longer distant and unreachable. They were beacons, calling humanity to a future among them. On the moon, now home to a bustling colony, John Thompson stood on the observation deck of the lunar base. He watched as Earth rose over the lunar horizon, a beautiful blue marble against the backdrop of space. A small group had gathered for the occasion. Elena, Yuki, and even Zextor stood with him. They were there to witness a historic moment. "It's time," Elena said softly. John nodded and pressed a button on a small device in his hand. Miles away on the far side of the moon, engines roared to life. The Sarah's Dream, humanity's first true interstellar ship, lifted off on its maiden voyage. As they watched the ship rise into the starry sky, John felt a mix of emotions: grief for what he had lost, pride for what humanity had accomplished, and hope for the future. "Go with them, Sarah," he whispered as the ship disappeared from view, off to explore the wonders of the galaxy. The story that had begun with tragedy had led to triumph. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, more united, and ready to take its place in the cosmic community. As Sarah's dream journeyed into the unknown, it carried with it the spirit of a little girl who had once looked up at the stars with wonder. Her dream lived on, guiding humanity towards a future filled with endless possibilities.